Hello, so my name is Michael Tsarion. I am an astrologer. I'm an astrologer trained in Hellenistic astrology. I've got a background in modern astrology as well, and I am going to be doing a series of videos, beginning with this one, which is a basic background video to try and introduce people to some of the ideas that I'm going to be bringing into this series. I have a website at michaelmtsarion.com. That is my blog. You'll be able to find all sorts of blog entries about the archetypal planets. The planets, as they, I believe that they, their archetypes were originally intended to be, and that is to say, I have a great deal of critique of how modern and even approaches to ancient astrology have portrayed the planetary archetypes. I have a lot of information about the zodiac itself, how the zodiac, what story it is basically trying to tell us. And what I've been doing with my work is to essentially gut astrology. I'm trying to bring astrology back to a more pagan, a more ancient paradigm, which I think may have already been lost by the time authors around the Hellenistic period, which would be the early, the end of the BC era, the beginning of the Common Era. I am going to be expressing a lot of ideas that are very political, and I'm going to involve a lot of different things that you might not normally see in astrology that I think actually either were originally possibly part of astrology or just dovetail really well with astrology. So my background is, among many other things, I'm a musician. I am a Tai Chi teacher. I'm a student of the Tao. I have been a student of the Tao for about 35 years. I believe that the Taoist understanding of the essentially the workings of the universe are extremely applicable to astrology, and I think that astrology probably originated with a lot of cosmological ideas that much more resemble those that are expressed in Taoism than what we usually get in how astrology is taught currently. So there's a great deal to be learned from Taoism, and I'm also a researcher into alternative history, into the works of Michael Tsarion. I've been on Michael Tsarion's blog 3 times now, speaking mostly about the outer planets, and how I understand those archetypes to work. I'm also a student of Ralph Ellis's work and Jordan Maxwell and several other alternative historians. I have experienced going back about 30 years in researching counterintelligence and how the government has and essentially the elites have been using media and various other techniques to break down people's understanding of who they are. Essentially sort of a worldview warfare that has been going on against the people of the world, and how that has been manifested through sort of a counterintelligence program. So that's a very large part of my astrological work, is to try and break through a lot of the overlays that our would-be rulers have placed upon us. Going back thousands of years, essentially, the Romans were experts in propaganda, as was the Catholic Church, which is something the Catholic Church inherited from the Roman Empire, who undoubtedly inherited it from earlier empires, including the Greek. So I'm also bringing in the ideas of Charles Fort. There's a lot of ideas about consciousness and how a lot of facts, as Charles Fort speaks about, damned facts, or these things that keep happening in reality that we simply don't allow to be real, and how that is causing a great deal of problems for human consciousness as we manage to blot out a lot of reality that's coming into us. So that's a major thread through, especially through my understanding of the outer planets, which I believe have a lot to do with ancestral trauma. Ancestral trauma, that when we talk about that, that brings in the ideas of Immanuel Velikovsky and the ways in which our consciousness forms in order to filter out understanding of who and what we really are, and how our consciousness has been incredibly influenced by and redacted by and damaged by ancient and even more current disasters that have happened to humanity. So I'm also bringing in the ideas of Thomas Kuhn. Thomas Kuhn wrote about paradigms, and how historically science has operated underneath ever-changing paradigmatic overlays, and they're constantly changing. We like to pretend that they're getting better all the time, and they are in fact not getting better. Scientific paradigms are just changing. They're not actually getting better. And I'm applying this idea to astrology. Essentially that there are previous paradigms that underlay astrology, clearly, that are not understood, that we don't get, and we're unwilling to look at astrology in its true ancient form, that we simply refuse to do that at this point, and we'll get into that a great deal. My astrology is very much based in Hermeticism, which, in my opinion, is absolutely inextricable from astrology. Astrology absolutely must be based in Hermeticism, and if we allow it to wander off into more modern cosmologies, and especially materialist and scientific cosmologies, then astrology is essentially gone. So the essential idea that Hermeticism is just a part of astrology and cannot be taken away is one of my basic tenets. Also, I'll be bringing in the work of Jung and of Freud, of Anna Freud, of several of Freud's disciples, who I believe were, well, we know that Freud was extremely involved in research into ancient Egypt. That was perhaps his most beloved, and his greatest affinity was for Egyptology and for trying to understand ancient peoples. So that's just a little bit about what I'm going to be doing. Again, my business is Daimon Seed Astrology. I'm a consulting astrologer. I am available for consultations. My form of astrology, as I've said, is Hellenistic, so I use traditional rulership scheme and whole sign for those astrologers out there who know what that is. That's great. I am not here to attack other types of astrology. I am not here to demean or to say that anything else is bad. What I'm trying to do is to put astrology back into what I believe was its original context. And if you go to my website, michaelmsuter.com, you'll find a lot of blogs in which I'm bringing in syncretic, shall we say, archetypes that correlate to the planetary archetypes, except expressed in mythologies that came from different places. I've done a great deal of research into German and Norse mythology, and going back to even to Roman times, the Romans syncretized the Norse/Germanic gods and goddesses, and they drew correlations between the Norse and the Germanic gods and goddesses to the Greco-Roman pantheon. So my belief is that if you look at the stories of the German and Norse gods and goddesses, you actually get more information about these archetypes and what they actually do. It's my belief that the archetypes their rulerships within the zodiac are there because they are functional. Their rulerships help move the story of the year and of the seasons along. So this is a really important part of my my astrology, that the various planetary rulers have a function within human psychology to sort of move the human story forward in a person's life. So that's also very seasonal. So there's I believe that there are psychologies that belong to a gamut of psychological ideas that belong to various signs, and if an archetypal ruler is in any one of those signs, there's going to be a certain array of presentations that archetype will make, and some of them are more shadow or dark, that may be harder to see and to understand, and some of them are very much over the top, that you can see them very, very easily. There's a secondary set of so-called dignities for the planetary archetypes called exaltation, in which a planetary ruler gets another type of dignity from being in another ruler's house. And so what this gives us is a sort of an explanation of these, some insight, shall we say, into how these archetypes interact with each other. So that's very important. And in the zodiac, we also have opposing signs and opposing rulers, and we can get a ton of information from understanding what the relationship is between the archetypes who are polarized to each other. And that's something that I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to explicate. So again, my name is Michael Tsarion, and I will be doing a lot more videos like this that get deeply into each of the archetypes and the outer planets as well, even though I work primarily in a more ancient astrological understanding. The outer planets, I believe, represents certain aspects of human psychology. You can go into the Unslaved podcasts and look for my name, and you'll see there's 3 podcast episodes that get into what I believe that those archetypes are doing. And I will also get into that in future videos. So thanks for watching, and I hope I will see you again.